Today, I'm going to show you the absolute easiest way to solar power a tool shed like this. It requires no electrical knowledge, no kind of wiring, and it'll take you 10 minutes or less to set up. I've been powering my tool shed this way for about a year now, and it works great. I've got lights, I've got saws running, I've got a fan, I've even got heat. I've got all my cordless tool batteries charging, and I've even got speakers. If you want to learn how to do this with your tool shed, you're in the right place. Let me explain everything you need to know to get this set up for yourself. A traditional solar setup requires multiple components. You have to buy those components, wire them all together, and it can be pretty intimidating if you've never done that sort of thing before. But in the last few years, these have become increasingly popular. These are power stations, sometimes called solar power stations or solar generators. You've probably heard of them, and you might even own one already and not know entirely what it's capable of. These things have all the necessary solar components already in them, already wired up and ready to go. It's everything you need in a nice, portable, easy to use package. They have batteries built in, they have AC ports so you can plug in whatever you want, and to recharge the batteries with solar, you just have to plug the panel straight into them. No wiring, it's that simple. I like to try new setups for you guys, so today I'm going to be removing my old setup, and I'll be setting up a brand new budget-friendly setup that I'm really excited to try out. Speaking of budget, that's another great thing about a setup like this, is you can really make it as cheap or as expensive as you like. For example, I have 3 power stations here. This one is $199, this one is $280, and I got this one on sale for $350. But the setup I'm going to be installing in my shed today is going to be using the $199 one. This is called the Vitoman Jump 600X. Vitoman is known for being a budget-friendly brand. They're not a name brand, but I've used their smallest power station quite a bit. This is the Jump 100, and I really like it, but it's not big enough to power a whole shed. This is meant for like hiking and camping trips, charging phones, that kind of thing. But I'm excited to try out its bigger brother, the Jump 600, and see if it can power my whole shed. When you're looking at power stations like this, there's a few things you need to consider to determine which one is going to meet your needs. The first thing is the amount of watts that it can produce. Power station brands usually advertise 2 different numbers, the running watts and the surge watts. For example, the Jump 600X has 600 running watts, but it can surge up to 1200 watts. The running watts is how many watts it can put out continuously. The surge number is how many it can put out for a short, limited amount of time. Some tools and appliances surge up to a high number whenever you first turn them on, and then they settle down at a lower number, and that's why that surge number is important. To give you an idea of how many watts certain items pull, I want to go ahead and plug some things into the Jump 600. But before we do that, there is one more thing you need to know about power stations. They all have batteries built in, as I mentioned, and the size of that battery, or the battery capacity, is measured in watt hours. The Jump 600X, for example, has a 299 watt hour battery. You can actually buy a battery expansion for this Jump 600 power station, plug it in right here, that adds an additional 640 watt hours, giving you a total of 939. But for today, I'm just sticking with the standard 299. But I'm just throwing numbers at you that might not mean anything to you, so let's go ahead and plug some things in so you can see some real world examples of how the watt output and the battery capacity matter. So first, I'm going to plug in this big light. As you can see, it is pulling about 94 watts, and that gives us a runtime of 2.6 hours. Now, what if we want to add a fan like this? That bumped us up to 125 watts, and now our runtime is 2.2 hours. And remember, we're going to be adding a solar panel to this, so this is going to bump up our run times even more, since the battery will be continuously charged by the sun. But let's power a few more things without a solar panel first, just to give you some more examples. Just for fun, why don't we try my refrigerator? A refrigerator is one of those things I mentioned that is gonna... Oh, here comes a cat and a dog. Okay. Hey guys, I'm doing something here. A refrigerator is one of those things I mentioned that surges up to a high number and then levels out at a lower number of running watts. Okay, it spiked up to 400 watts. It's gonna go through a couple of cycles where it goes up and down. Okay, so it's leveled out at about 250, and that gives us 1 hour of runtime. Obviously, a budget power station like this is not ideal to run a big appliance like a refrigerator, but I just wanted to show you that so you have something to reference. I think the surge rating on this Jump 600 power station is probably just high enough to handle a miter saw. Let me try that real quick. If you do go over the watt limit, it's no big deal because power stations have built-in overload protection, so all it's going to do is turn off the AC port. And then when you want to use it again, you just got to turn it back on. All right, now let's actually use this to solar power my shed. So what I'm gonna do is set the Jump 600 right here on this shelf, and I'm going to plug in this power strip. Connected to this power strip is all of my cordless tool batteries. You can see it's currently pulling 84 watts to charge all of my batteries. I haven't charged them in a while, so that's why it's pulling that much. Once they're fully charged, it just kind of trickles and keeps them charged. It barely pulls any watts at all. There we go, it's already dropped down to 50 watts. One of them must have been topped off. In the other AC port is where I'm gonna plug my big overhead light. Now I can switch that on. And just like that, I have light and I have charging tool batteries. We're currently pulling 100 watts. Sometimes it spikes up to closer to 140. Again, that's just because these batteries are charging right now. Since I've got this big power strip, you see it still has a lot of empty spaces. So I'm gonna use this to power my speakers, and I'll plug my little fan into that too. This power station in particular also has USB-C and 3 USB-A ports if you want to charge smaller devices, so you could hook up your phone there as well. And one thing that I really like about this power station, let's say you don't have an overhead light, maybe you don't need a light, it has a built-in flashlight, and this thing gets surprisingly bright. So now we've got our off-grid power source ready to go, but how do we hook up the solar panel so that we have power in perpetuity? Now, if you're doing a set it and forget it setup like I am, meaning you're not gonna come out here and put your solar panel indoors every time it rains, then you're gonna want one like this. What you don't want is like a flimsy folding panel. Those are great for camping or, you know, temporary camp setups. That's not what you want to leave outside all the time though. Those things will get ruined. You want one like this that's made to stay outside for a long time. Now your power station has a limit on how much solar input it can use. The Jump 600X, for example, has a limit of 100 watts, but that does not mean you can only use 100 watt solar panels. It just means that no matter what solar panel you have plugged into it, it's not going to use more than 100 watts at a time. And it has what's called a solar charge controller built in to make sure that it doesn't get more than 100 watts at a time and damage anything. So I'm going to be using this 215 watt panel from CallSun. This is my favorite panel I have. And since it's a bigger panel, it's gonna get us closer to that 100 watt limit more often. Because even though a panel may say it's a 100 watt panel, it's really only gonna bring in like 60 to 80 watts most of the time. And so if you wanna maximize the amount of time that you're getting 100 watts for the Jump 600X, then the bigger panel is gonna get you closer to that. And if this bigger panel brings in more than 100 watts, it's fine, it won't hurt anything because the Jump 600 is not gonna use it. This particular solar panel costs about $250, so together with the Jump 600, we're at $450 for this setup. Now, when you're looking at solar panels, you do have to make sure you don't exceed the maximum voltage that your power station can take. The solar input port for the Jump 600X cannot take more than 30 volts. And on the back of this CallSun panel, there's a sticker. It says open circuit voltage, in parentheses there it says VOC. That's the number you're looking for. This is 20.41 volts, and that's well within the 30 volts that our power station can take. You want a little bit of a buffer, like 10%. So if this panel was at like 29 volts, I would not hook it up to the Jump 600, but since it's only 20, we have plenty of breathing room and it's fine. Okay, so now all we need is a cable to connect our solar panel to our power station. Solar panels use what's called MC4 connectors. They look like this. So one end of your cable has to have these to connect to the solar panel. But power stations can have various different types of solar input ports. The Jump 600X has what's called a DC 5521. It looks like this, but it can vary. For example, the Predator 350 power station uses an Anderson port, and the EcoFlow Delta 2 uses an XT60i port. So you just gotta look in your user manual or Google it even, and just see what kind of solar input port your power station uses. I got a cable on Amazon that has MC4 connectors on this side and DC 5521 on this side. It was like 10, 15 bucks. I'll link it down below if this is the one that you need. So the cool thing about these MC4 connectors is there's really no way to mess them up. They'll only go in one way. You're gonna put your male positive plug into your female positive plug, like so, and then do the same thing with the negatives. They physically cannot go in any other way, so you're not gonna mess this part up. Now I'm gonna set my solar panel up on this shelf I have outside my tool shed and run the wire inside. My input cable wouldn't reach over here where I had the power station sitting, so I had to put it over there and move the batteries over here. I should have got a longer cable, but now All we have to do is plug it into the input port. And look at that. You see the battery percentage started flicking because it's charging. Now, a lot of power stations will show you the exact number of watts that you have going out and the exact number of watts that you have coming in, but it seems like the Jump 600 just kind of shows you the net amount. So it's showing us that the amount that we have coming in minus the amount that we have coming out, and we have 18 watts left over. So we've got a net positive of 18 watts coming in. And since we have a net positive, instead of telling us how long we're gonna be able to power stuff before we run out of battery, it shows us how long it's gonna take to fully charge the battery. So with a net positive of 18 watts, it's gonna take 13 hours to charge. If I turn my overhead light off, you see it says we're bringing in 87 watts now, getting pretty close to that 100 watt limit, and it's gonna be fully charged in 0.9 hours. And now we're at 95 watts, and that seems to be the limit. I haven't seen it go any higher than that. So it's perfectly fine to continue powering things while it's being charged by the sun. You see I've still got my light running. I've still got my tool batteries plugged in, all while it's being charged by the sun. And so this is now a self-sustaining system. I just gotta leave it out here and let it charge. Since these solar power stations are designed to be portable, if you want to unhook it and take it with you camping for the weekend, then that's perfectly fine too. Especially because this Jump 600X power station, it has a jumper cable port, so if you want to use it to jump off your car, perfectly fine to disconnect everything, take it over to your car and jump it off. Now with a setup like this, there are some limitations. First of all, let's talk about extreme temperatures. Power stations like this do not perform well when it's really cold or really hot. The Jump 600X, for example, has an operating range of -4 degrees Fahrenheit up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're actively charging it, then it should really be above freezing temperatures. Most of them have a built-in temperature protection system that'll prevent you from using it when it's too cold. Another limitation of setups like this are items that draw a lot of power. Don't expect to run like an AC window unit or an electric space heater off of a setup like this. Both of those things will melt through this battery in minutes. Unless you're willing to spend quite a bit of money, then solar setups are really not good for heat and AC. I have a little AC window unit running in my shed, but I only run this off of a little gas generator. And for heat, the best option I've found is a diesel heater like this. I have a full video about this diesel heater if you'd like to see that, but this thing only draws like 30 watts once it gets warmed up. So it'll run for a really long time, even with a budget power station like the Jump 600. You just gotta keep diesel fuel in it. So there you go. There's the very, very simple way to solar power a tool shed, she shed, outbuilding using a little power station like this. Obviously, the more you're willing to spend, the more you're gonna get. With a budget power station like the Jump 600, this is perfect for somebody who just wants to keep their batteries charged, run a little overhead light, you know, small stuff like that. You're not gonna be out here for a very long time using a lot of power. This is perfect for that. Obviously, if you're gonna be running bigger tools like saws, then you might wanna upgrade to something a little bigger. But as you saw, the Jump 600 is capable of running a miter saw, so if you're not gonna be making a ton of cuts, then this will get the job done for that. I hope you found this helpful. Like I said, I've been powering my shed this way for about a year now. I started with the Predator 350, then I moved up to the EcoFlow Delta 2, and now I just kind of try other power stations for fun to see how they do, like this one. And I've been perfectly happy with the results of powering my tool shed this way. It's cheap and easy and gets the job done. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be glad to answer them. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, I'll leave a link down below to all the items that I discussed in this video. If you want to pick up anything, you can get them all on Amazon. And a special thanks to Vitamin for providing the Jump 600 for this video. It was a lot of fun to try it out, and I hope you guys enjoyed learning about it just as much as I enjoyed trying it.